Spaghetti, the ultimate comfort food, the global icon of Italian cuisine. But here's the question: where did it actually come from? Was it Marco Polo, fresh off a ship from China? Or is the story much older, stretching back to ancient civilizations and centuries of culinary trade? Today, we're unraveling the tangled history of spaghetti, a journey from tomb carvings to medieval trade routes, from myth to reality. To start, let's deal with the elephant in the kitchen, Marco Polo. The story goes that Marco Polo brought noodles from China to Italy in the late 1200s. But this tale didn't come from Polo's journals. It came from a 1938 trade magazine in the U.S. The so-called Macaroni Journal invented it to sell pasta to skeptical American consumers. So, if Marco Polo wasn't responsible, then where does spaghetti's real story begin? To find the roots, we have to rewind more than 1,000 years, back to the Etruscans and the Greeks. Etruscan tombs from 400 BCE show pasta-making tools carved in stone, rolling pins, cutters, and boards. Meanwhile, the Greeks had laganon, sheets of dough cut into strips, a distant ancestor of lasagna. These weren't spaghetti yet, but they prove that shaping wheat and water into food was already a cultural tradition in the ancient Mediterranean. But how did these rustic beginnings evolve into spaghetti, the long, durable noodles we know today? For that, we have to look south, to Sicily, and the Arab influence that transformed pasta forever. In the 9th century, Arab rulers in Sicily introduced etrilla, thin strands of dried pasta made with durum wheat. This innovation made pasta durable, portable, and perfect for trade. By the 1100s, Sicilian towns like Trebia were exporting it by the shipload. The ability to dry and store pasta was the turning point. It wasn't just a local dish anymore. It was a commodity, a food that could travel. And travel it did, spreading through markets, kitchens, and manuscripts across medieval Italy. Which brings us to the Middle Ages, when pasta became more than survival food. It became a symbol of everyday life. By the 13th century, pasta shows up everywhere, in cookbooks, poems, even wills. Italians were eating macaroni, vermicelli, and lasagna. Pasta was cheap, filling, and beloved, so much so that vendors sold it on the streets of Naples. This was pasta's first golden age. But here's the twist. While Italy was slurping spaghetti, China had been making noodles for thousands of years. So, are they connected? To answer that, we need a split screen. East versus West. China's noodles date back to at least 3000 BCE, made from millet and rice. Italy's pasta, meanwhile, came from durum wheat. Both cultures invented noodles independently, shaped by their ingredients and traditions. So Marco Polo didn't import spaghetti. It was simply a case of culinary parallel evolution. Two civilizations, two noodle traditions, both timeless in their own ways. But spaghetti didn't just stay medieval. It was about to step onto the global stage. And for that, we head to Naples, the bustling birthplace of modern spaghetti. In 18th century Naples, spaghetti became street food, eaten with fingers before forks were common. By the 1800s, industrial pasta machines made spaghetti cheap and abundant. Italian immigrants carried it to America, Argentina, and beyond, where it became a cultural icon. But here's the thing. Spaghetti didn't taste the way you expect yet. One key ingredient was missing. That ingredient, the tomato, and it would change everything. Tomatoes only arrived in Europe from the Americas in the 1500s, and for centuries they were thought to be poisonous. Italians only began cooking them widely in the 18th century. By the 1800s, spaghetti with tomato sauce had become the iconic dish we know today. Without the tomato, spaghetti would have been a totally different story. And that brings us full circle. From myth to truth, from tomb carvings to tomato sauce. So what's the takeaway? Spaghetti wasn't born in China, nor delivered by Marco Polo. It's the product of centuries of invention and exchange. Etruscans kneading dough, Arabs perfecting drying techniques, Neapolitans slurping noodles, and immigrants spreading it worldwide. Next time you twirl a fork full of spaghetti, remember, you're eating a story that spans 3,000 years, and in our next episode, mac and cheese, from royal delicacy to craft classic. Don't miss it.